in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. How we doing today on this Tuesday?
It's Taco Tuesday!
Yeah, I see the comments in the chat. Our apologies regarding the 4 o'clock show yesterday with Napes. There was a issue that came up. He was not able to make it, something out of his control. I popped on the chat about 4:45 when I realized that it was not going to work out. So that rarely happens here on If You Don't Like That. So please accept our deepest sympathies there. We were struggling. So we got a big day for you here on the King's Court, King's New Year's resolutions. The beam is lit going into 2025. I've also got a surprise for everybody. So we'll get into it. We'll talk about last night. We have a ton of audio from last night. And one of the most legendary sound drops of all time, if you're not aware of it, it's this. I think many of you know it, but
Fat.
Yes, Mike Gundy saying
Fat.
It's relevant today. It is relevant, and it relates to the Kings. Malik Monk having some fun after the game last night. So a lot to go through. Winning makes things feel a little bit better, but it doesn't change the task ahead of this team. So you can really apologize. Nice. Wish Fox could. Damn. Yeah. I don't know if that's coming, my man. I don't know if Fox can apologize. What's he have to apologize for in his eyes? I mean, Rich Paul, man, does he seem to have Fox's ear right now? Anyways, we're going to talk about last night. I want to get your reaction. If some of you were at the game, I exchanged messages with KCRA3's Michelle Dapper, who was covering the game. And I asked her about the fan reception for De'Aaron Fox. She said there was scattered boos during player introductions. Not surprising. So I didn't get that from Gundy. What do you mean? The legendary Mike Gundy rant? You didn't get that?
Fat.
You don't remember the rant that he went on? There's so many gold mines in that rant. Like, remember this? This was brought to me by a mother of children.
This was brought to me by a mother of children.
How could you be a mother otherwise? What are you a mother of, Mike? There's a lot of good stuff at that. Remember? Come at me. I'm a man.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
What are some of the most legendary sports rants of all time? We've had this discussion on the show, but if we were going to do a Mount Rushmore of rants, what would they be? You've got Denny Green's. I think one of the most underrated ones is he actually was coaching at Davis for a while. But Dan Hawkins, when he was at Colorado, that rant was incredible. And I think you kind of have to, was it that fat little girlfriend speech? No, it was not that speech, Adam. But I think that maybe you've got to throw Mike Brown in there with the possession after possession after possession after possession 26 times. I think that's got to get in there too. But hey, we're getting a little bit off track. Let's get into it. We've got a ton of stuff on the other side. We're going to hear from Malik Monk. We're going to hear from Domantas Sabonis, Doug Christie, De'Aaron Fox. And I've got a surprise that I'm going to reveal to you once we come back. Welcome in to If You Don't Like That in the King's Court. Court is in session.
Grant and Ryan break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of
Williams, the D-Box.
Fox. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that.
First and foremost, happy New Year's Eve. What's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, all of your plans include safety. Be safe tonight. Don't do anything crazy. What has been? I want to get some New Year's stories from all of you. Does anybody have a good legendary New Year's story? New Year's Eve story? Did you do something fun? Did you do something? Como se dice, stupid, but it ended okay. Do you have any fun stories? I want to hear them today. Let me know. And if you have a resolution for the Kings, and not the resolutions that we're used to with New Year's, like, oh, I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna start going to the gym. No, what are your resolutions for the Kings? How do you fix the Kings in 2025? We'll hit those as well. But I told you, I've got a little bit of a surprise for you today. And it's this. Spread the word. Jerry Reynolds, Mr. Holy Moly Jim Bob Bully, joining us at 3:30. We're going to talk about Kings. We're going to talk about the NBA. We'll take your questions. So make sure you stick around. Jerry's going to be here for those that are the OG Kings Quarters. You know, Tuesdays are Jerry Reynolds Tuesdays in the off season. Switches over to Wednesdays once the season starts so he can do the roundtable with Grant and I. But Jerry's going to join us here on this beautiful New Year's Eve to talk about last night and talk about the path forward for this team, making sense of these last couple weeks. Kings pull off a pretty decent win last night, 110-100. I know my partner in crime on this channel, Grant Napier, was not too chipper on the post-game show last night. I'm going to take a little bit of an opposite approach. Grant's still holding this team to a standard that we came into the season with. This is a team that could win 50 games. This is a team that, unless they win a playoff series, is a failure. That's kind of out the window for me. After you lose 6 straight, when you're 7-12 on your home court, when you're 5 games under 500, I'll take a win. And it completely was turned around again by the bench unit. The bench that we keep calling, I keep calling a G League bench. They came in and turned this game on its head in the third quarter, started a little bit in the second quarter, but the stops that this team was able to string together, incredible, between the third and fourth quarters. And I get it, before you come in here, yo, Rhino, no Luka, no Kyrie, no Lively, no Clay. I understand, but you got to play who's in front of you. And through the first quarter, it looked like there was going to be some trouble. The Mavs come out. They hit 7 of 8 threes in the first quarter. But in the middle of the third to the fourth quarter, the Kings got 16 stops in 19 possessions. Let me repeat that. 16 stops in 19 possessions, which included 11 turnovers. Jerry Reynolds at halftime said, pressure the guards for Dallas. You have G League guards on the floor for the Mavericks, and that's exactly what the Kings did. It started with Keon Ellis and things like that. When you play that style of basketball, when you get physical, when you start feeling the other team backing up because they're feeling you, that becomes contagious. That's when everybody else hops in on it. Trey Lyles had a big game last night. We'll talk about that as well. Malik had a few things to say about Trey Lyles. So want to get all of you in on the action today. Thanks for being here. What are your plans for New Year's? Anything going on? I don't know. Does anybody really stay up until my age? I'm a man. I'm 40. I don't stay up till 12 anymore. now that I've got a 10-year-old and a family, we do the 9 p.m. ball drop. And I have been lucky enough to actually be in Times Square for the ball dropping back in 2000. I think it was 2004 turning to 2005. I want to say that was the year. So I have had my fair share of fun times on New Year's. Now it's about being with the family, and staying safe indeed. So let's get you in on the action. You can call the show. We've already got somebody online, Corn Dog. By the way, one correction, my apologies. I hinted yesterday that the Boise State game was yesterday. My bad. I was so jumbled up with everything that's going on with the Kings. I was not thinking, and I've been looking forward to that game a lot, as you can tell. So my fault for the mistake. I will be better. I will give myself a sorry for
Struggling.
I'll do better. Okay. Okay, we're good. All right, let's go to the chat really quick, and then we'll go to our first call of the day. Remember, you can also call the show 916-822-9485. 9485. There's Napes, the show that did not happen yesterday. Again, our apologies there as well. Chatting it up. What's going on? Check in. Let me know where you all are at, what you guys are thinking, where you at the game. Let's have a fun one today. Again, Jerry Reynolds joining us, 3:30. Looking forward to Jerry joining us. Fox, BG. Fox pissed me off last night when he got a tee. And look, he's laughing and wanted a second tee to be kicked out. Yeah, Doug Christie talked about that. Look, De'Aaron Fox, for the first, I would say, 20 games of the season, probably about the first 20, he was a model citizen. I'm like, holy crap, he's not chirping at the refs anymore. He's letting his game speak for himself. And now something's flipped. He is doing the exact opposite. And then Trey Lyles did it too. Do you give Trey Lyles a pass? I do not. In fact, I put Trey Lyles technical on De'Aaron Fox because when you see your star get a technical, it makes it seem like it's all good. You can just pick them up after that. So that's on De'Aaron. Let's go to the phones really quick. We got a call coming in. Kings Court, you're on the show. Oh, we're getting prank calls now on the Kings Court. All right. Kings Court, you're on the air. Yeah, is this Kings Court? Is this Rhino? Yeah, it's Rhino. What's up? You're on the live. Is your refrigerator running? Yeah. You better go catch it. Like, what are we doing? Come on, y'all. Let's do better. Let's let Corn Dog kick this off. Corn Dog, what's up, dude?
Woo! Let's go Broncos.
Let's go Broncos, man.
I'm pulling for that one big. I know they're heavy underdogs in this one. Everyone's picking Penn State, but you know what? This is Boise State we're talking about. Like, this ain't no ordinary group of 5 team we're talking about here. This group of 5 team has gone the distance time and time again. Like, this is no true underdog. You know, this team has pulled off many of upsets in this very bowl game. And honestly, they've produced a lot of good players, a lot of good teams out there, as well as almost anyone not named Alabama or LSU this century.
They usually show up. It's almost like, I don't want to say a tradition at Boise because it spans across multiple coaches. You know, you had Peterson at Boise. Yeah. You've had Alabama's coach at Boise. They all know when you come to that program, if you are in a big bowl game, there is a standard. And it's like passed down. And I do remember, probably you're old enough, the Fiesta Bowl with the Statue of Liberty play, and then Ian Johnson proposing to his girlfriend after he runs it in against Oklahoma. I just think we watched Boise out physical Oregon early on in the season. And I don't think there's I think they could do it to Penn State too. I don't see why they can't do it to Penn State.
Yeah, Boise was easily the closest team to beating Oregon this year. Like,
yep.
The Oregon, the Ohio State game, great game, but Oregon was not trailing as bad as they were against Boise State. I think Oregon was up the whole time versus Penn State. Like, the closest team to beating them was Boise State. Like, let's not twist that narrative. And this team has Ashton Genty. Let me repeat that. Ashton Genty.
Who's got a chip on his shoulder too. He should have won the Heisman.
Yeah, man. You don't think he's hungry to get that record? Like, I don't care how many games. He won't care how many games it takes. No one cares how many games it takes. Eric Dickerson broke OJ's record with extra 2 games. Saquon might break ED's record with another extra game. No one cares about that. They just want that. Hey, this is my record. It's mine. And Ashton Genty, why not? Go for it, man. Just run all over Penn State and go get yourself a record, man.
I hear you, man. I totally hear you. Who you got in the games tomorrow?
I'm rolling with the Ducks on that beautiful, beautiful setting. 70 degrees, Pasadena, California, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Can't get any better than that game.
The granddaddy of them all.
Hey, yeah, that is the bowl game. That is the iconic bowl game.
You are looking live. What was the guy's name? Legendary announcer. Oh, Grant's gonna kill me. That used to do all those games. He'd always do the Rose Bowl. Oh, it was Musburger and is it Keith something?
I think I know who you're talking about. They actually have his statue at the Rose Bowl. I know who you're talking about.
That's gonna bug me. Pick me up in the chat, y'all. Keith Jackson. That's right.
Yeah. That was it.
That is right.
But yeah, again, that's that big one. The other one, we got Georgia playing at a familiar venue versus Notre Dame, the Sugar Bowl.
Yep.
And then Texas and Arizona State have to go all the way to Georgia to play the Peach Bowl. And you know what's crazy? The ticket prices of that one's like the most expensive.
Really?
Yeah, that I was looking at. Like, the Rose Bowl wasn't that bad. Fiesta Bowl was fairly cheap for a bowl game. I almost considered going if I didn't have to work today just to get my holiday pay. I almost considered making a Fiesta Bowl trip.
Wow.
But because the prices were pretty good. I think they were like I think I saw like some like for like 150, 170 a pop. Like,
last minute trip, huh?
I was considering it even before the first round because I was like, those are pretty good.
Really quick, Dennis, you're hitting on one of my resolutions. Now you need to hit 14.5 3-pointers. I wonder how Dennis came up with that number, but free throws. Free throws are massive. I'm going to talk about those later in the show.
I think he's trying to create a prize pick or a underdog kind of thing. With
Dennis is like a mad scientist, dude. He's sitting there on AI. He's producing pictures. He's throwing formulas into it. I'm telling you, he's got a little layer somewhere with its own beam. Dennis is just all consumed.
I would love a personal beam. Honestly, I would love having my own personal beam.
I have one. It's lit. See the little beam behind me?
No, I mean like one that I can shoot up into the sky on my own.
Yeah. I don't know how that would work.
Oh, no, it'd be terrible for air traffic control. They'd be all over me.
Yeah, I don't think they'd really appreciate that too much.
That would be fun. The corn dog. It is just a giant corn dog.
A giant corn dog. Stop it. You have any good New Year's stories?
Not really. I mean, I'm mainly a bowl game type of guy for New Year's.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a bowl game type of guy. I'm a pretty down home, it's, Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, whichever ones are on the New Year's.
Okay, fair enough.
So, I haven't done the midnight thing in like the last 2 or 3 years, mainly just due to my work schedule having me to wake up at 3 all the time.
You have to wake up at 3 for work?
Oh yeah, I gotta commute to Tracy, and that's a terrible commute in the morning. It gets packed up, man. It gets packed up fast.
Interesting.
All those Bay Area commuters, man.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, hey, dude, enjoy the game tonight. Go Boise.
Yeah,
Hopefully they win.
I'm going for it, man. I just want somebody that is somewhat West Coast at least to win it all this year. All right. Anything on those other time zones, they've had their fair share. West Coast hasn't had one since Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush.
Yeah, it's a good point. That is a very good
somebody
point.
this side, man, and we still got a couple teams in there. So
very good point. Look, this nation could very easily fall in love with Boise State, even more than some are. Like, there's a lot of college football fans that know the history of Boise, but this is such a huge opportunity for them to be exposed to the newer generation that weren't around for that Fiesta Bowl back in the days. So looking forward to it. Thanks, brother. Have a safe and happy New Year's.
Go Kings.
Go Kings. Hey, drive safe too. If you're going to be up at 3 a.m, that's when all the partiers are going to be on their way back home. So.
Oh, no. I'm off tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm back.
All right, cool. All right, dude. Talk to you soon. Thanks, corn dog. This dude wants a giant corn dog shooting into the sky. How about that? All right. So if you saw me distracted during that call, this is why I was distracted. How do you even say that, Peter? Used to consume bagna cotta? Bagna cotta. So I had to look it up. Bagna cotta, also spelled bagna cotta, in Alps Maritimes, is a hot dish made with garlic, anchovies, typical of Lower Piedmont, a geographical region of Piedmont. That's an Italian dish? Garlic and anchovies. Looks like think about a bean dip. Yeah, but it's like olive oil, garlic, and anchovies. That looks terrible, Peter. I don't know if I can get down with that. Yeah, chicken and dumplings. You know, Jerry's going to have his helping of those as he gets closer to New Year's. Keegan last 12 games, 30%. Yeah, Keegan Murray's not touching the basketball. That's the problem. And when he does touch the basketball, he's getting grenades. Grenades are shots where it's like 3 left on the shot clock and you're completely out of position. He's just not being included in the offense. You know, and that's where with Keegan, because he's such a humble, quiet guy. Keegan's awesome, by the way. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times. He is so cool. Such a nice guy, but he's not going to stand up for himself. It's just not. He'll do it in his own way, but that's not enough with the personalities that are in this locker room. If you had a Keegan Murray style of player, but with a bigger personality, more of a voice, I guarantee there would be some issues in that locker room. They're just bypassing him. And I get it. He's had open looks and he's missing them. But what I'm telling you is it's really hard to touch the ball like once every 7 or 8 possessions and then be expected to make a shot. I know it's your job. I know you're paid millions of dollars to do it. I know that they're 1%ers, top 1% in the world at what they do, but it's not always an easy thing. Nothing impressed last night. Fair enough. New Year's hope. Keegan finds his offense. Would be nice. Keon's been shooting the 3 ball pretty good. He's the leading 3-point shooter for this team right now. Herder can't be traded this year. His contract is horrible. I disagree. Herder, okay, so here's the thing with Kevin Herder. If you're new to the show, we've had this discussion many times. Kevin Herder is not a main course when it comes to trades. There's not an NBA team out there that's going to say, you know what, we're going to go get Kevin Herder. What Kevin Herder is he's a really good side dish. He's not like French fries. It's not like potato chips. It's like a good potato salad. He's a good twice baked mashed potato that goes along with the steak. And his salary actually does work. His salary is actually reasonable because a lot of NBA executives and insiders around the league, they view this Sacramento system as like a one-off. They see it as the redheaded stepchild. They see it as an outlier. This system is like any production that's being done in this system, whether it's overly productive or whether it's underproducing, there's like this curve that everybody applies to what you're doing. That's why Domas last year wasn't voted an all-star. He finally got the All-NBA bid. That's why De'Aaron Fox in 22-23 was not voted an all-star, but he ended up being an all-star replacement. So some of these guys that are underachieving on this team, there's a lot of execs out there that attribute that to the system that's being played here in Sacramento. And again, guys that are overachieving, they're attributing it to the system. So there is more of a market for some of these guys than you think. Kevin Huerter, probably if I went down the Kings bench and I said most desirable right now, you're probably going to have we've got to take Devin Carter out of the conversation. Take him out of the conversation. You're probably going to have a split between Kevin Huerter and Keon Ellis. I give the nod to Keon Ellis because of his contract. But after that, it's Kevin Huerter, maybe Trey Lyles, and so on and so forth. So that's the thing. That you got to look at it as a whole when you're thinking about bigger trades, because bigger trades are almost never one player for another. You have to add in other elements to make the money work. And Kevin, what's he making? 16 or 17 this year. And I think he's got another year where it pops up to 18. No, so he's making 16.8 this year. Next year, he's making 17.9. So right around 18 million. So I disagree with that, but appreciate the comment. Trey Lyles is just too productive to get anything better right. What? Trey Lyles is just too productive right now to get anything better right now. That's the honest truth. I don't know if I get that one. Walk me through that. Stop setting the narrative that we will take any win on the hopes of us winning again. I would have made 10K bet on the Kings winning last night. I'm not setting any narrative. What are you talking about? I said I'd take it. I'm saying I'm not holding them to the same standard that I was holding them to when they came into the season. So they're obviously not even close to that standard. You have to be a realist. I'm not saying it's a great win. I said I'll take it. I'll take it. That's all I'm saying. Adam, I'm going to dream about a Sun Devil. Yeah, you're a Sun Devil guy. I know. You're going to be excited about that. Let's bring in the Guru. What's up, Guru?
What's up, Ryan? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
My whole mind on this team is just reset mode. I just want to see how. But the big question is, does Vivek want to do the reset? And I guess I kind of want to talk it out. Like, do you think he's in? Do you think from all the information that we've gotten, do you think he's ready to say, you know what, it was a good 2 years. Let's just reset it.
I don't think Vivek has in his own opinion on what to do. I think he's listening clearly to Monty McNair. So whatever Monty's telling him, Vivek's going with.
Yeah, I mean, but like at some point, Vivek's got to be like, hey, we're not winning games. Like, you sure this is right? I don't know. Like, there's got to be at some point where he's like, yeah, Monty, this team's not performing. We got to change some stuff up. And then maybe money will come back and say, hey, like we're not going to get great value for these guys unless we reset. We can get good value, and then I don't know what the conversation that's going to be. Vivek might get scared or
Yeah, but
whatnot.
hey, Dennis, do me a favor, brother. Don't put the
Yeah.
DMs in there. They block our screen. I appreciate it. We'll bring you into this conversation in a second. I don't know, because if you read Ramona Shelburne's article, Zach, the organization thinks this roster's fine.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I read that too. I mean, what if it's like, what if that person's like Mantina or something, or says some random, I don't know, like what, maybe she's saying that kind of stuff, or I'm trying to think who else it could even be. But man, it's just tough to really, for Vivek to really think that, and to listen to Monty after that. But I don't believe, I mean, Vivek's got to be part of this as well, and him firing Brown and stuff. Like I know he's listening to Monty, and everyone's saying Monty was the one that chose it, but Vivek, at the end of the day, he's got the power to say yes or no.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Hey, Dennis, if you want to join the you're good, dude. I'm not upset at you. You don't know that those pop up the way they do because you're not on our side of the studio. But if you want to hop in the conversation, call back. I'll bring you up with Zach. Here, look, you could also take the other approach to this, where maybe Monty isn't Fox guy because he's drafted 3 guards in 4 years. And so maybe they're looking to go a different direction. And we all know the story of Vivek and Fox and, hey, kid, I've got this beautiful new building or car, whatever he said, and I want to give you the keys to it. So maybe you've got to walk Vivek back there a little bit. I could see a situation where Vivek is overly infatuated with De'Aaron from a marketing sense. He keeps himself out of trouble. He's a good kid. He's a family guy. His family sits courtside at every game. He's never never really caused any controversies, but he has definitely rocked the boat behind the scenes 3 of the 4 last seasons. Now, how much Vivek is in tune with that, and whether he's on Fox's side or whether he's on the organization side when it comes to those things, we'll never know. But yeah, I think you've got to start there. It's with De'Aaron Fox.
And it's hard, and I think in Vivek's mind, it's hard to get someone as good as this guy. It took 6-7 years to build this guy up, and it's hard to get I know he's not really a 1A, so we'll call him a 1B. To get a 1B type player even is difficult. And so for us to have that right now on our team, and it's hard to lose that and say goodbye to it and start over. I get it on Vivek's side, and we were so good 2 years ago, but it just doesn't look good. So I'm just in that mode. And I guess I want to make a quick thought for for Monty picking guards all the time. It's tough because I'm kind of in the same mix, pick best player available, unless like if you need, like, let's say you thought the wing that you because let's say we do wing, right, and the wing was just as good as the guard that you think we're getting, then yeah, pick the wing, like even if it's just a little bit less or a little bit worse, but like you think they're kind of close, like yeah, pick the wing. But if you think that the guard is significantly better and will be significantly better, I always choose best player available. It worked out for Tyrese. We got like a all-star trade for him. I think Davion was the big miss, and but yeah, we'll see. I'm intrigued by Devin Carter. I think that guy could be really good, and I think he actually has some leadership skills too. So I'm excited to see how he plays. And but yeah, I'm also surprised, just to get back on the De'Aaron Fox thing, that he was basically never really gave any shout outs to Mike Brown, to him not caring about him, not showing that he's not caring about Mike Brown, and like in all the press conferences and the post game, and it shows that it's just not the leader that we really want to run through.
Expand your thought there.
Like, I mean, so Mike Brown, he was always, Mike Brown got fired, right? So he never really talked about in his press conferences to try to like protect him or anything. Like, it would have been nice in that Pistons game to be like, hey, like, that's on me. Don't go at the coach, stuff like that, to protect him a little bit. If all these reports are saying that he never had beef with that Mike Brown, and he was with him and he liked him all this time, and he wants a hard coach. he never really says these things in the press game or the post game or the stuff like that to really defend him and say show his love for him. So he didn't really protect him and show leadership that we want to see.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to De'Aaron's sensitivity, and I think what bothers me the most about that in the team as a whole is if you go off of what that article says, this team, quote unquote, was rubbed the wrong way by how Mike Brown handled, his media about De'Aaron Fox. And I'm thinking, well, Mike really didn't do much. Yeah, he called him out, but it wasn't a calling him out like you need to do better. He's saying you could be a star, you could be a superstar, you could be one of the best two-way players at your position. Right. So I'm going to keep pushing you, and I'm going to keep in. He's letting that be known in the media, but yet that's throwing a player under the bus. I mean, if our team is that soft, that's a freaking problem. And you've got a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who's been around the league forever, that's in that locker room too. Like, how that's a problem, I just don't know how you can coach this team appropriately then. Because there's times where you do need to point those things out. And if it's not getting through behind the scenes, it is appropriate to say it to the media, especially when the media and the fan base are seeing these things and they're not being addressed. Like, you owe an explanation to them. So I worry about that, Zach. You can't have a team that's too thin-skinned.
No, because during the Luke Walton years, what was the big thing that we always talk about Luke Walton? He doesn't give any accountability to anybody. Like, he doesn't press people. He doesn't talk to people. He's very lax, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the total, this is what we want. We want our star player. Like, that was, that's my bird chirping in the back.
Yeah, dude, it's been like getting me too. I was going to ask you, what kind of bird is this?
It's a cockatiel. His name is Abu, and he's a good bird. One of these days I'll bring him on.
He's a cockatiel.
Yeah.
His name's Abu?
Yeah, it's one of the little, it's like a gray, little gray cockatiel with the orange and yellow cheeks. Very popular, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm looking at a picture of one right now. All right, Teal. I see you.
Yeah, so I'll bring him on one of these days. But he's just chirping in the back. He wants to get out of his cage at some point.
Does he have a mohawk?
Yeah, he has a little mohawk as well.
Okay. Right. How long you had him?
Almost a year.
Does he have a job?
He'll watch the Kings games with me and give his takes with me and stuff. He does this analysis with me.
I might be with Haunted Horse. The bird should be the GM.
He should be, man. He's calling out Vivek as we speak. But like I was saying, I have no problem Mike Brown telling Fox and publicly like he should. And he didn't really say his name in the press conference. He was just saying, we should have guarded the three. It's not like he was calling his name over and over again, and it was hurtful or in a bad way. I mean, the guy shouldn't have been in that position, and we'll just see what happens there. But I'm just in reset mode, looking at all these trades we can do with Spurs, Rockets, Lakers. It's going to be a fun few months here. We'll see if this 2025 if we're going to have Fox on our team or not.
I sure hope not. And I mean that with all due respect. I think that's what will that will make this rebuild take a different turn if De'Aaron Fox is still involved. Because if you re-sign him and things continue to go bad, he's going to want out. It's just not a good combination.
And you want to trade him at his peak value. Once you start saying I'm out, it's going to tank.
100%.
The big question is, once we trade, let's say we do trade Fox, is Sabonis next, and should he be traded?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
I guess on my end, I feel like I would trade him just because he's like, he's 20, he's going to be 28. It's going to take a few years to rebuild and stuff. And I know his value isn't that high, but I feel like we can get maybe two first. Is that asking too much?
probably the Kings are going to take a haircut with his because of his contract. I know Grant and I disagree there.
Right.
It's too much for what Sabonis is because he's a niche guy. He's a niche guy.
Shouldn't be making number 2 type money. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different discussion. I just think, and I know the fan base is having a hard because you have different, like, we're watching this show on Netflix right now called The Squid Games.
Oh yeah, just finished it.
So anyways, you've got different cliques, right, within this fan base when it comes to De'Aaron Fox. It's like, oh, there is no Kings without De'Aaron Fox. There's the trade Fox clique, and then there's the clique that's in the middle that can see it both ways. And the point that I've been trying to hammer home here is if you do this Fox trade the right way, if you do it ahead of schedule per se and max the value out, maybe you are the team that sets the market for the trade deadline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's asking a lot of Monty McNair too. And you've got to have a team that's willing to trade with you. But if you're able to do that, where you get a couple of pieces right now that help you, but you set up for the future too, this team as it sits can be a recalibration. You don't have to rebuild. You don't have to rebuild. This can be more of, when I say recalibration, it's just tuning it up, right? It's making sure that we're optimizing things rather than breaking it down to the bolts and rebuilding it. And that, I think some people are having a really hard time seeing that because you've got Devin Carter in the hopper. You still got Sabonis for the next 3 years. Keegan Murray, you can more than likely bring back. And that's going to be a bigger conversation that I'm sure a lot of people are going to chime in on, whether you want him back or not. You still got Malik Monk. There's some good pieces here, some really good pieces. And depending on who you hire as the coach, they might be able to get a lot more out of those guys than we've seen from Mike Brown.
Yeah, like you're saying, it could be like a futuristic lateral, or I don't know how to. We should coin the word that kind of matches what you're trying to say, which is like a lateral plus building for a future type trade.
100%. Work on it. Work on it, guru. That's why, dude, that's why you're the guru. That's why you're sitting in the TNT studios right now with a damn bird in the background. Like, you need to come up with that word. And
that'll be my 2025 New Year's resolution.
Love it. All right, dude. Have a great New Year's, by the way.
Take care, man.
Appreciate you.
Take care. See you.
Look at Zach always killing it. I felt bad having to give it to Zach the other night for the heavy breathing, but he had some heavy breathing going on into the mic. And I get it. It was one of those mics that's right there, so it's right by your nose too. So it's not like he was out of breath or anything. Adam, dude. Where did that comment go? I saw what you put. Does the chicken have big talons? Are we going movie quotes, Adam? Is that what we're doing? Come on, Adam.
Oh, idiot.
What are we doing? I'm fine with it. It is what it is. Hey, if you're just joining us right now, Jerry Reynolds joining us at 3:30. Looking forward to having Jerry here on a Tuesday. Jerry usually joins us every Tuesday in the off season. So he will be here at 3:30. Get your questions locked and loaded for Jerry. We're going to talk to him about last night. We'll talk about the future of this team, what moves Jerry might like to see, and then whatever questions y'all have for Jerry as well. Tom, back in Omaha. What's up, my man? Happy New Year's. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Haunted Horse needs to go next Kings game and boo the team. Horse, what am I going to do with you, my man? Horse, we don't have a show tonight, right? It is New Year's. Can you let me know? Can you let me know? Thank you. Purdy, yeah, that was a difficult situation last night. Bet Purdy takes a haircut on his contract now. We'll see. Peter, when Sabonis can put up numbers like Jokic, why aren't you making him the focus of your offense? Jokic can shoot the ball. I mean, Sabonis is showing he can shoot the ball. He's learning how to shoot the 3 ball. It's coming along, but Jokic is much more of a threat on the perimeter than Domas is. And I would also say he is a quicker and better decision maker. He sees the floor better than Domas sees it. This year, Domas's turnovers have been perplexing, especially early on in the season. Dennis put up a chat a few minutes ago, or while we were talking to Zach, I believe. It's either Zach or Corndog, about the scoring for the Kings and it being down and that being the issue. And he said they needed to make 14.5 threes. The issue during this streak for the Kings, the 6-game losing streak that really changed everything, changed the course of this season here in town, is the free throws. Last year, the reason scoring was down was because the Kings were not getting to the free throw line. Free throws were down almost 20% from 22-23. Free throw attempts down almost 20%. That doesn't usually happen. That almost never happens. And that was largely on the shoulders of De'Aaron Fox because he was settling for shots on the perimeter. He wasn't getting to the paint. At the start of this year, the Kings were near the top of the league in both free throw percentage and free throw attempts. They have dropped significantly. In fact, at one point, their free throw attempts were up 18%. I think it was 18% through 20 games this season. Free throw attempts now, they're only up 5.8% from last year when they were down 20%. Free throws are why the Kings are losing games. Free throws are why the Kings are losing close games. Maybe not early in the season, but as of late, that is what you can point to. That is what scares me the most about this Doug Christie simplified offense. Most everything is on the perimeter. When Malik Monk started or stepped into the starting lineup, and we had that first 5-game sample size where the Kings went 3-2, free throws were doing okay. They were getting to the line like they should, but the offensive numbers were through the damn roof. They were higher over that 5-game sample size than the offensive rating in 22-23. You know why? Because that offense that the Kings were running was centered around the pick and roll. Malik Monk talked about in the Shelburne article that the league adjusted to what the Kings had done and they need to try something different. Well, that was trying something different. Mike Brown did. He took the DHO predominantly away and put the focus on the pick and rolls. Now that's gone. Through 2 games with Doug Christie, I can count on one hand how many pick and rolls that I have seen through those 2 games. And the sad part about that is almost all of the times it's been run, it's resulted in an easy shot or getting to the free throw line. So I'm hoping that Doug Christie is able to incorporate some more of the pick and roll into the Kings game because it is so imperative. And it also helps you play a little more to Sabonis's strengths. So that was something that I was definitely going to point out. Pick and roll has got to be a resolution for this team. In fact, let's listen to some audio from last night. Here's Domantas Sabonis after the win.
Just keep fighting. Keep fighting. I think there's still a quarter left or a lot of minutes left in the game, and with us, we got to fight till the last second, and make sure we get that win.
Malik Monk also stepped to the podium. Remember, I told you there was a Mike Gundy connection. It's coming up soon.
Yeah, we were just indecisive with what we wanted to do. And then second quarter, we got it right. Obviously, and turned the game around. So, we just can't start out indecisive.
Was there any part of you thinking, here we go again with another big deficit?
Never. I always think we're gonna win the game.
Yeah. Obviously, what in that third quarter? I mean, what did you see? I mean, the atmosphere kind of felt like a fourth quarter. I think the fans sensed just how much it was needed as well. How much do you feel like that kind of really energized you guys?
We said it from the in the locker room at half because we gave the Lakers 42 in the first quarter. Third quarter, we gave them 41. We know those are kryptonites right now, so we just tried to come out there and stay locked in, make them call the first time out, play harder than them the first 3 minutes, and I think that's what we did.
A lot of talk about Trey Lyles' performance last night. Why is Trey stepping it up? What's been different? Here's Malik.
Trying to make them laugh. Just put a smile on your face. Can't be so serious all the time. Basketball is a serious game, but you got to have fun doing it. And I think when I try to say something funny, make them laugh, it brings the joy, make them forget what just happened. And yeah, I just be trying to install a lot of confidence in them. Shoot the ball, good shot. Next one gonna go in. Just things like that.
But that's not all. He had some other words for Trey.
Yeah, since he's been back, he lost a lot of pounds. He was fat at the beginning of the year. Put on lost some of them lbs, and he's moving around now. So yeah, that's it. That just he just lost some pounds, and that's it.
He called Trey Lyles fat publicly. That's Malik Monk for you.
Yeah, since he's been back, he lost a lot of pounds. He was fat at the beginning of the year. Put on lost some of them lbs, and he's moving around now. So yeah, that's it. That just he just lost some pounds, and that's it.
You gotta love Malik Monk. Too good. Alex, welcome in today, buddy.
What's up, Ryan? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. Happy New Year. First off, hope you have a great 2025 on this show. You guys are growing, doing amazing. So hats off to you guys. Only main point I want to make is I think we really got to change that starting lineup. I think on paper it sounded good: DeRozan, Monk, Fox, Sabonis, Keegan. But to me, we're so bad defensively with that lineup that it doesn't matter who's in, it doesn't matter who we play. We're always out of position and always down. It seems like 10 plus points in the first quarter. Because DeRozan shouldn't be guarding threes; he should be guarding twos. Monk is really small. He's a small two. I think Keegan would do a lot better guarding threes than fours. And then Sabonis is already, laterally challenged as it is. So just like a really bad defensive lineup. So I wouldn't mind if they put Keon back in the starting lineup or Lyles at the 4, I guess, and Keegan at the 3. And then either having Monk or DeRozan or both on the bench. I don't know what you think about that. I really feel like we're always down by 10 no matter who we play with that starting lineup.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think what happens with that starting lineup, the big difference is there's not enough athleticism on the floor. Yeah. There's just not. There's a reason why Keon comes into the game. Some of the others, they're more active. They're flying all over the place. They're bigger threats defensively when it comes to putting pressure on the ball. And offensively, again, Keon's leading the team in three-point shooting. So I'm not sure what the disconnect is with getting him some more looks. Maybe Doug Christie will do that. Maybe he won't. And I guess the counter argument to that is, well, he's not shooting the same frequency or quantity that the other guys are. But I am all for putting DeMar DeRozan in the second unit. But Alex, you got to remember, per some of the reports, that was something Mike Brown was exploring, and it, quote unquote, made the guys upset, partially lost the team.
Yeah, I think there's more factors to it, and we don't know what's real and what isn't. But Doug did sit DeMar, I think, almost the full third quarter, and we went on that little run. And when DeMar wasn't in, we were on that little run. So I mean, I think they have to know that, okay, he is a good player. He's good offensively. He's good on the mid-range stuff. It's just he's a liability on defense, especially on our team when they try to make him guard threes, basically, or even fours sometimes, which was crazy when they're trying to make him guard Aaron Gordon. That was insane.
Well, you had Keegan Murray out that game, which made that matchup difficult. Here's where I think he's the biggest liability, and I don't know why this adjustment has not been made, but there's far too many times that DeMar DeRozan is in the corner. He's in the hot spot, meaning if somebody doubles or a guy leaves, he's the first one that's going to get the ball, or towards the end of the shot clock, it's being kicked out to him. And the threes that DeMar's taking, unless it's a corner three, I don't want DeMar near that 3-point line. And I get he's made some this year for a couple of reasons. One, it's not his game. And two, half the time he's got a damn toe on the line, and it's the worst shot in basketball, which is a long two.
Yeah, no, I agree on that for sure. Also, too, and I'm sure you've touched on it, other people have as well, but I think one of the main differences, being that our team is very similar the last 2-3 years, is that first Beam year, Keegan and Herder were hitting a bunch of their threes. I remember Kevin Durant even talking about, he was saying like, oh, Herder's shooting like Steph. He said it on some interview during that Beam team year. So I think that's a big part of why, we're not doing great, because we're not hitting our threes. Our two main guys that shot threes in that first year Beam team, they're not really hitting them this year. And it's, I feel like we're almost hoping for them to go in when they shoot, where, back in that year, we were like, oh, those are almost automatic, those are our main two shooters, So I don't know. There's a lot to fix on this team, but I don't know if you've gone over that or you thought about that. I'm not saying it's all on them, but yeah, they were so consistent that first year.
Yeah, well, 100%. And I've put a lot of thought into it. I've looked at the numbers. I've looked at the tape. And this goes to Peter's comment as well. And then we'll get back to Adams. When Sabonis can put up numbers like Jokic, why aren't you making him the focal point of the offense? That's exactly what the Kings did. That is what the Kings did when Sabonis came to Sacramento. And it's exactly what they did in 22-23 when they made the playoffs. They made him the focal point of the offense. They used him like Denver uses Jokic. And that is, to your point, Alex, about the missed three-pointers from Keegan and Kevin. Those guys were getting wide-ass open looks off of those DHOs. Those guys were in rhythm coming off of Sabonis. Teams adjusted to that. They started hanging off Sabonis. They started staying with the guy coming off the DHO and going over so they couldn't get those shots. Or if they were going to get that shot, they made Kevin or Keegan put the ball on the floor. And Coach Brown and the coaching staff never were able to come up with a proper adjustment to address what teams were doing. They were never able to adjust to it, but yet we still kept running the DHOs, which meant they were getting worse looks, because Keegan Murray and Kevin Herter, they're not guys that are out there to create their own shots. They're guys that are out there to finish plays, to finish shots, to make shots. And you have them in positions now where they most times have to create their shots. How many times have we seen Kevin come into the game, take a DHO or take the ball and have to take a few dribbles to his left or a dribble to the right, or even a pump fake in and then step back and shoot the three? That's not what those guys were having to do in 22-23. They were getting clean, perfect looks, and that is stopped. So to your question, Peter, you can do that if you can draw up adjustments to the way that other teams are guarding the DHO. Nobody in Sacramento has been able to do that up until this point, which is why I feel Mike Brown went to the pick and roll.
Yeah, no, that possibly could be it. I always feel like Herter travels when he shoots his threes now. Like he takes a skip step and a jump, and it's almost like
everybody does.
Yeah, man.
Everybody does.
Yeah, every time when Kevin shoots it, I'm like, man, I feel like that guy's traveling. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say I'd be very, very shocked. I know it's probably the contrary, but I'd be shocked if Fox got traded. I do think Vivek loves him, and I do think Vivek still sees him as the prodigy in Sacramento. So I'd be super shocked if he did get traded. And even as your point earlier, his family's always on the floor. They're always putting him on his son on the camera, and I really think Vivek loves Fox. And I think not that it's a good thing what happened to Brown at all, but I do think they really did in Vivek's mind. I'm speaking from Vivek's mind. I think he did hand him not just the keys to the kingdom, but the spare key, the key behind underneath the mat, every key that they had. Like, all right, Fox, this is all you know. And I know people are thinking, oh no, we're for sure trading Fox now. I think they're definitely not trading him now, but they just gave him more power, if anything. And I'm honestly think we're probably going to make a questionable trade for a Levine, for a Kuzma, something like that to appease him. Again, I'm not saying that's right, but I really think that's what's going to happen from now till February.
Well, they're playing with fire if that's what they do, because if you think based off of De'Aaron Fox's body language, based off of the way he's been playing, that guy's sticking around when his contract's up, you're crazy.
Yeah, and if he does do that, hopefully they know something we don't. They have some kind of gentleman's agreement, or I don't know what, but that's just what I think. Hopefully I'm wrong. I don't know. We've seen Vivek for a long time. He's not your prototypical guy, and that's what I just think. Again, I'm not saying that's the right thing, but I'd be shocked just seeing Vivek if we traded Fox this year.
For sure. Appreciate you. Happy New Year's, buddy.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year, and I'll be there tomorrow at Goldman One, so hopefully we get a surprise victory against the 76ers.
Awesome. Yeah, somebody put no Embiid in there, so that's good news. If that
that's very interesting. But Maxey always kills us too, so I don't know. That'll be tough. But is Paul George playing or no?
I've got to check. I haven't even looked at the injury report yet. So
okay,
I'll check.
All right, Happy New Year, man. Have a good one.
You too. Happy New Year, brother.
Go Kings, and keep the channel going, man. It's awesome.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Alex calling in. Remember, we've got Jerry Reynolds coming up at 3:30. We're going to be talking to Jerry about the Kings, talking what's going on in Sacramento. What do you like so far about what he's seen in these 2 games of the Doug Christie era? So he'll be joining us at 3:30 today. Make sure that you are around. So Adam put a comment in that if we rebuild, it's going to be a disaster. I'm paraphrasing. No, if you tippy-toe around rebuilding, that will be a disaster. Rebuilding in itself, done the right way, not a problem. Now, you're going to ask this fan base to be more patient, which is a big ask, considering you've had 1 year of the playoffs in 17 years. And it's unlikely that they'll make the playoffs this year. Maybe they'll get in the play-in, and who knows? Anybody can win a couple games, and if they get into a first-round series, maybe they're clicking, maybe they get hot. Could happen. Anything's not off the table. But if you tippy-toe around rebuilding and you try to appease De'Aaron Fox because he wants to win, and you keep De'Aaron Fox with no security that he's going to stay around when that contract's up, and then you are left with the pieces, and that means probably you've given up some of the future or pieces here in Sacramento that play significant roles. They might not be stars, but they play very important roles, like a Keegan Murray when it comes to his defense, a Keon Ellis, who is extremely valuable because 1, his contract, but 2, he causes chaos. Look at what the Kings did last night. If you're just joining the show, between the 3rd and 4th quarters last night, between the 3rd quarter and halfway through the 4th quarter, the Kings got 16 stops in 19 possessions. I can promise you, without doing the research, that is the best defensive stand the Kings have had all year, because 16 of those stops caused 11 turnovers. 16 stops in 19 possessions with 11 turnovers in those 19 possessions. Keon Ellis was a huge part of that. The pressure came from him. So he would fit nicely with just about any piece, especially a top tier piece in the NBA because of what Keon's paid. So that's why if you just tippy toe around it, that's the disaster, in my opinion. One thing that I can tell you is not and will not ever be a disaster. That's Bennett's. Make sure you go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Learn more about all 3 of their locations in the greater Sacramento area. The West Side Grill, located in Rockland in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. Love the New York Prime there. Redfish off the hook. Short rib, bomb. You guys have found out about the meatloaf as well. Love the steak Cobb salad. Should I keep going? I won't. I'll stop mentioning things on the menu because a lot of times this year the Kings have been all words, no actions. Here's some actions. Take it from Brian Bennett himself.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes, to make ahi pokey. What are you talking about? You're gonna have a party and you're not gonna call Bennett's and have them take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter, we can make it for Christmas, we can make it for anybody's.
And they can do that in or out of the restaurant. You can always rent out one of their private dining rooms at each of their locations. Same great food, same great service. Don't forget about pretty much their daily specials, whether it's weekend brunch, happy hour, Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 o'clock, or their different dining specials like Monday night wine and dine. All of it available to you at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Go check them out. And a huge thanks to Bennett's and all of you, by the way, who have gone to Bennett's and given us feedback and let them know that you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. We really appreciate it. One of my favorite places in Sacramento. It never, ever disappoints. Trust me on that. We're going to keep getting to your comments here in a second, but I want to play some more audio before Jerry gets here, and we'll look at some of the Kings season stats as they sit today. Here is head coach Doug Christie after last night's game.
The impact that he had tonight.
Yeah, he was big time. I mean, I've had a strained calf and lower injuries and different things, and I understand that when you come back, there's a trust issue with yourself, trying to make sure and all the different things that go along with that. But to his credit, again, the fighting through, and he had a big time rebound, charge, threes, just playing with the type of pace and aggression that when he's all the way healthy that he plays with. So I gave him a big hug and told him thank you, because without him, without all of them, this was a team win, from our bench energy to our bench communication in the huddles to the starters to foul trouble. Like, you go across the board, and those are the things that I want to see, because this is a team sport. We are a team, every single one of us. We had G League guys there, everybody. This was about everybody. This is not about me, it's about them, and the fact that they were able to overcome, I'm just super proud of them.
Baby Cakes in the house. What's up? How you doing? It's been a while. Good to see you back. Doug Christie on what went well. What you liked, especially in the second half?
Proud of the guys. Obviously didn't start out the way that we wanted to, but at halftime challenged them. The third quarter in Los Angeles was the one that got us, and tonight come out and only allowed them 17 points in the third. I thought was really, really big for us. Offensively didn't run with the same pace that we did, but defensively took a bit of a step. But there's still levels to this, and some of the things that that you're being asked to do. You go back to old habits, and now we got to continue to work on it. But more than anything, it's about winning. And then you go back and look at it, and then we'll continue to improve.
Honest answer, Flores, I have no idea. I don't. 22-23, it was the dribble handoff. Everything was around the DHO and reads. Last year, Mike Brown put it in the players' hands. Far less structure. He's on the record saying that. In fact, on the record saying he rarely called plays. This year, I don't know. It was, at best, you could call it a motion offense, at best. When Malik Monk started the first 5 games, that offense was predicated around pick and rolls. That was pretty easy to see. And it worked really well when the Kings did it. Then inexplicably, when you had 2 massive games that I said would be the fork in the road for the season against the Lakers, the Kings went back to the DHO. Really confusing. So what kind of offense are they running now? A simplified offense, according to Doug Christie. What that means, your guess is as good as mine. Doug again.
Bad. I think that, part of one of my messages in the huddle was like, you're going and you're getting close. And Bob Marley would talk about taking the bucket to the well, and you never know when the bottom's going to fall out. But you got to keep going. You got to keep, you never know when it's going to happen. And we needed that in that way. Like, is that going to be the thing that makes it happen? Are we going to still struggle from time? Yes. But the goodwill needed to happen to show that, a lot of things that we talk about, we're able to do. Now we need to do it with the consistency, the intensity, and the aggression and violent aggression, in my opinion, that needs to be there to win games at this level.
I'm so not on board with Mark Jackson being hired. I would think that would not be a good hire for this team. Nothing against Mark Jackson. Nothing against his capabilities as a coach. But Mark Jackson is spread thin. He has a lot of other things going besides basketball. In my opinion, if you hired Mark Jackson, you would have a part-time coach here in Sacramento. That's why broadcasting works so great for Mark Jackson. He runs a church. I don't recall if he is the pastor, excuse me, or what his exact designation is. But what I do know is I used to see him all the time when he was the coach of the Warriors. When he couldn't get flights directly into SFO or Oakland, he would fly into Sacramento and he would be shuttling back and forth, both himself and his family, between Oakland and wherever his church is located. Maybe something's changed. Maybe he's not as involved with that. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But that was a big gripe that the Warriors had. A massive gripe. Nothing against anybody that attends church. I'm a Christian. But as an NBA head coach, you got to be centralized. Home base has to be here. You got to be available to the guys at any time. And I just don't see it. And Vivek's infatuated with Mark Jackson. We've said it more than a few times. So take it for what you will. Doug Christie, again.
I promised Shannon I wouldn't cuss anymore. So we brought them all in. Like, it's part of what I want them to understand is it's us. So lock arms. Let's get in here and let's have a conversation about what it's going to take the next step. And part of it is facing adversity, regardless of the whistle or anything like that. And I said, trust me that I will talk to them. I will go at them. I will do everything that I can to shine a light on whatever the situation is. But that can't derail what we're trying to do on a night-to-night basis to improve. The process of us improving is facing adversity, facing those things and overcoming those things. And I said it with different, obviously, verbiage, but the point was, I think, well taken, and we just have to work in that area. That's something that I do not want. I want them to focus on the game, understand the game is hard. You're going to get a good whistle sometimes you're not going to get a good whistle. It's part of what happens. And for Kings fans, I think they understand that from the time I was here.
Bingo, Flores. Bingo, my man. Effort and heart. Somebody called up and said blue collar, describing the Kings of the 80s and the 90s, and that's exactly how I remember them. They didn't win nearly as much as they lost, but the effort was always there. They left it on the floor. That's what draws the boos, in my opinion, here in Sacramento. This fan base is not LA. This fan base is not one of those fan bases that goes to the game to see the other team, that goes to the game to sit in the lounges, that goes to the game to be on camera. This fan base goes to the game. Hell, I would go this far. I bet you there is more people in the stands, regulars, season ticket holders at the G1C that could explain basketball and what the Kings are doing and what the Kings are doing wrong, and explain it well to the point they could put together a good 2 or 3 minute segment for a camera, and it would make complete sense. Kings fans know when the team's not hustling, when they're not engaged, when they're holding back. So you nailed it, Flores. Doug Christie, one last time.
I think we got 10 or 11 losses by 5 points or less. So those are the things that we have to improve upon. One of them that I said in the huddle was clutch rebounds. What I consider clutch rebounds is a shot goes up late in the shot clock and they get a rebound and then they get another opportunity. Those are the things that we got to shore up. But more than anything, it's the defense. Defense again, and defense to finish. That's where, if we're going to make the jump offensively, I'm not worried. We have super elite players. We got one of the best guards in the league. We got if not the best, second best, whatever you want to consider, in Domas, like just an incredible talent as far as all around talent. Malik, Debo, like you go down, we have those, but it's going to be up to us to go out and finish the ball games. And more than anything, that's going to be the focus going forward.
I don't disagree with Doug there. I do think that this team has been at its best in the last 2 years when they turn defense into offense. Now, their struggle in transition too many times is the basketball IQ part of it. The basketball IQ has been marginal at best this year. And you could make an argument that translates and that even carries back to last year. You know, the first game in LA when Doug coached after Mike Brown was fired, the Kings had a 5-on-4 transition opportunity, and De'Aaron Fox pulled up for a 3. Anthony Davis was on the floor, injured. He ultimately got up, but pulled up for a 3. The Kings have been a little too lackadaisical with the basketball in transition. So, but defense to offense, I do though. Wherein Dennis, I appreciate all the posts about percentages and the Kings need to make, exactly this many threes. It's more complicated than that to me. I get analytics are analytics, but there's an eyeball test too. You could be not engaged. You could be passing up really good opportunities, better opportunities, and still make 14.5 or threes in a game. So there's a continuity that comes with great basketball. And we saw glimpses of that continuity in 22-23, and really we haven't seen it since. So what's Doug going to do? Simplify the game? That's fine. But if you simplify the game, you got to know, and this is what Doug's preaching. You heard it there in those bites. We'll simplify this, we'll simplify that, but the one thing we will not budge on is effort, competitiveness. That always has to be turned up to 110, and that starts with De'Aaron Fox, and that's not always there. It is not always there with Foxy. Appreciate it. Yep, we're getting the news in that Embiid is likely out tomorrow. Kings need to go practice their threes because in-game they're trash. So, BG, really quick, one of the changes that Doug Christie has made with the Kings shoot-arounds is they are going to be putting up a lot more shots than they normally do. A little bit less walkthroughs and a lot more shots. So we'll see if that helps. There are going to be nights that this team looks like that old team that's shooting and making a ton of threes. But what can the Kings do? What do the Kings do when those three balls aren't falling? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, pull up threes. Those are not good. You still want to trade Fox for TJ McConnell? I never said I wanted to trade Fox for TJ McConnell. When did I ever say that? I believe my statement was the Kings have never had a true point guard like TJ McConnell. And I believe that statement was after I said Fox is really good at getting his. Fox's box will look good at the end of the game. But it's only getting his. He doesn't lift up his team. If his shot's not falling, what's he doing to make everybody else better? Or when his shot is falling, what is he doing to make things still easier for everybody else? That's what the superstars do. That's what SGA does. That's what John Morant does. That's what LeBron James does. That's what Steph Curry does. They attract attention. They are always a threat. De'Aaron Fox is not always a threat when he's not scoring. So my statement was, what would the Kings look like with a true point guard? Because we haven't seen it. And the times that we have seen something close to it is Malik Monk. And for that 5-game stretch, the numbers were through the damn roof. So no, I'd never said trade Fox for TJ McConnell. But I think this team would greatly benefit from a TJ McConnell, a Josh Hart, that type of player. That would really, really help this team because your roster is full of finishers. Your roster isn't full of creators. So if your roster is full of finishers, naturally, you need to have some creators. And the Kings don't have enough of them because the creators that they have, they also have to carry the scoring load. De'Aaron can create, Monk can create, DeMar can create. Sabonis, he's kind of this wild card because he can create, but it's a different type of creating. You've got to run the offense specifically through him. So Fox too much of a diva. Clutch time Fox, crunch time. Look, I think that thing is a little bit, clutch time Fox. It's a little overblown. Why can't Fox just play like that for 4 quarters? In LA the other night, he had 14 points in the 4th quarter when the game was out of hand. And everybody looks at that game, oh, he had 29 and 12 assists, right? So the 6-game skid definitely hurt. That is true. Cheers to you as well. 2025. Hope you guys all have a great New Year's. We've got the beam lit as we head into 2025. Good omen, bad omen. We'll see. Jerry coming up with us here in just a few minutes. I think Jerry just got here. He did. So we'll be getting to him. If you have questions for Jerry, super excited that he was able to join us on short notice. We're not going to be together for our Kings Roundtable tomorrow with Grant, but appreciate all the comments. Keep them coming. We are going to get ready to welcome in the one, the only great friend of the channel, contributes so much here, Mr. Jerry Reynolds. Happy in advance New Year's, buddy.
Happy New Year to you and all the fans. I'm just thrilled to death to maybe, not there yet, but to get to 2025. I don't take it for granted. It's not a given.
So what's New Year's going to look like tonight for Mr. Jerry?
Well, me and Mrs. Reynolds are going to stay home, and probably about 9 o'clock when the ball's dropping in New York, that's when we'll celebrate. We'll
love it.
We'll have a little hot toddy or thereabouts, something similar. And, we'll just be thankful that we get to see 2025, and we are, and certainly very confident that 2025 is going to be better than 2024.
I hear that. I love it. Staying home. That's the new thing. That's the cool thing for us too. We don't like going out, Jer.
No, I used to, but I'm stage now where I don't want to be around people like me when I was in my middle 20s. That's the last thing I want to be around is a 25-year-old Jerry Reynolds.
What was a 25-year-old Jerry Reynolds like?
Well, he drank too much and talked too much and got in a few little tiffs every now and then, So that's about it, Just kind of ran with the wrong crowd a little bit.
That's all right. You live and you learn.
Yeah, you do. And, it's they weren't bad guys, but mostly, but then sometimes they were. That's how that is. So, but it was great in those days. The worst you could end up with is a red nose then. As opposed to get shot. Right. For the same thing. So right. Young people today's got a lot more things to look for and be concerned about.
It's such a great point. And social media too. It's just filled with videos of fights and stuff of that nature. And next thing you know, it ends up on your boss's phone and there goes the job. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. I spent a lot of time on YouTube kind of going down that rabbit hole. That's about it for me. But it's amazing how many people don't understand that saying stupid things in public it could not be good for you sometimes. If you're going to attack your boss and your co-workers, they might have offense to that. just saying.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, I'm so happy to have you here, by the way. Thanks for coming on short notice. We'll kick it off. I've got a question from Al. Coach, what would you do to get Keegan jump started on the offense? Do you see anything in his game that is different from his rookie season and when he shot the lights out of the three?
Yeah, there's now I don't know if it's going to change things. I mean, he's really in a slump, and he's way too good a player to be in that sort of slump. But he was his first year, he was basically an off the ball player, and and I know they've encouraged him to try to go to the basket more, put the ball on the floor more, and that's okay. But I still think he was better moving without the ball, getting to his spots, catching the ball, and shooting the ball comfortably. I think that's a small part of it. Now, the other part is I think defensively has hurt him. He's done a nice job defensively, but I think the fact that one night he's guarding Trey Young, and the next night he's guarding a power forward, or the next night he's guarding a two guard. I mean, I think that does take a toll on a player's offense, and so in my mind, you know, if he could guard, you know, the small forward, you know, on the other team every night, I think he'd be easier defense for him, and then it'd really give him more of a comfort zone for his offense, I think.
Jerry, is there a way a player can adjust? Is it just that easy, giving him the small forward to guard, or do you have to be that type of special player to play at a high end on both sides of the ball?
Well, I think for the great defenders over the years, you know, the Marcus Smart when he was young, or Tony Allen, and, you know, you can think of some of those, Andre Iguodala. I mean, they were defensive specialists, and they certainly did take away from their offense. I mean, I think it's fairly tough to do. I mean, you look at a guy like Drew Holiday, we know he could be a 20-point scorer. He's not, because basically he really is the focus is number one defense, and then you know he'll have a offensive game now and then, but he sacrifices his offense for defense, and I think that's the way it works. And I think with Keegan's case, I mean, I get that he's a good with the Kings, and that's kind of the problem. They don't have enough good defenders,
right?
And so, you know, he and Keon Ellis and you know, certainly Fox at times shows that he can be a terrific defender. So they don't have enough, and so I think Keegan, since he's a little more expendable on the offensive side, he gets kind of throwing the curveballs all the time, and I think that has taken a toll. You know, he's got to grow through it, though. I mean, it's one of those things the coaches can help him, but he's got to carry his own water here and just get out of it, because he looks very hesitant to shoot sometime, and I get that, but it's no different than a baseball player that's in a slump, a good hitter that goes through a period where they're not hitting well, or a golfer that can't make 4-foot putts for a while, and I think that's what it is. So I just hope that they have the patience with him, and maybe I would cut his minutes down a little bit. I mean, I really would. I think probably until he really gets comfortable scoring. You really can't have him out there 36 minutes getting 4 points.
Right.
regardless. So anyway, I still think he's got a chance. I mean, I haven't changed my mind on him. I mean, I was a witness when he scored 12 3-pointers as a rookie, and last year had a 32 against the Warriors in the play-in game, and so it's in there. It's just not in there right now.
If you're coaching him, and you bring up the 32 points, we know his massive game that he had against the Jazz as well last season. Is it imperative that the coaches continue drawing plays up for him, or do you just kind of keep going as you're going and simplifying things like Doug Christie talks about?
Yeah, I kind of like Doug's approach, just simplify things and let Keegan kind of find his way. Certainly, I think I would probably go to Domas and say, try to get him some shots. Domas is probably one of the best big men I've ever seen at finding guys for easy shots.
Right.
And so, just like, hey, if you can, kind of find him a few easy shots early if possible, and see where it goes.
So, Doug, as we talk about simplifying, what's that mean to you, Jerry? When you hear Doug say, I want to simplify the offensive game and simplify the defensive game, how do you explain that to fans?
Well, I think basically, in some offenses where you might have, besides play sets, but you might have 4 or 5 options off each kind of play. Well, the problem with that's good. But what happens is so often that there's 2 or 3 guys that forget option 3, 4. And so it leads to turnover. So by simplifying it, saying, in this situation, we're going to do this as a number 1. And if that doesn't work, we're going to kind of the second option of it. And that's it. Execute better and less. a little bit of the old Vince Lombardi thing in football. It's like, hey, we're running off tackle. We're going to do it well enough. You got to stop it. And if it's the Kings, let's do the pick and roll better. Let's do the draw and kick better. Let's come off the down screens better. It really isn't a complicated game, but to be successful, you got to do the little things right and correct.
Right. We've seen a lot of perimeter action. The game's been more on the perimeter the last 2 games since Doug's taken over. A little bit less of the pick and roll, definitely not going through Sabonis as much. Do you worry about not getting Sabonis involved enough in this offense if we go back to shooting threes and a lot of running and gunning?
That's a great question. I mean, I do worry. I mean, he's got to be involved a lot because the ball does move through him, generally speaking. I mean, the ball doesn't stick to him very much. Good things generally happen. And so that's a plus. And I kind of agree with you. I'd like to see more high screen rolls with Fox and Monk in particular. I would like to see the team too with Trey Lyles when he's in there going small ball with him as a big pick and pop.
Yeah, good point.
He's just not near as good going to the basket as Sabonis, and Sabonis is not near as good with the pick and pop, although he could do it more. So there's little things there, and I've always said, we've talked about this a million times. I mean, only thing Doug can do really is try to motivate his team to where they come out ready to play hard, play smart, 48 minutes. That's what you're looking for. I mean, and then utilize them correctly. Well, part of that is just what we talked about, trying to find areas where his best players are at their best, which may mean that you need more space with De'Aaron to get him into the mid-range game and break people down. Maybe not as many threes, that sort of thing. So it's all a little bit of a chess game there.
Definitely a little bit of a chess game. With De'Aaron, and we're going to get into that in a second, I want to ask, though, because somebody put the question in the chat, what's going on with Larry these days? They want a Larry Bird update.
Well, I texted him a few times. We've texted back and forth, haven't had a long conversation, but he was, I know before the Pacers game, I texted him, we call it the game of the century. But he said, well, it's really 2 bad teams going at it right now. And I said, yeah, because they were struggling as bad as the Kings at that time going into the game. And of course, after the game, he said, well, I guess the game of the century, one team sucked a little more than the other one. I said, there's really no comeback for it. So, he's a consultant with them. And so, but that, like he said, that I can be as involved as much as I want or as little as I want. And so that's enough for him. He obviously did everything at a high level, every job and so just kind of picking and choosing what he wants to do. I told him, I said, you're just like me, except you make a lot of money.
Well, you get paid in chicken and dumplings.
Well, that's not a bad tale.
No, it's not, my friend. BG with the question, Jerry, if you were the GM for one day, what trade would you do and do or look to do to try to help this team?
Well, that's a great question, impossible question in a way, though, because in one day, the only thing you could do, which is what you should be doing, is checking in on about every team. You should have an idea of, probably 8 or 10 trades that you would like to do, and maybe they haven't materialized, then go back. I'd say, all right, we've had discussions on this and we offered this and that, and they didn't want to do it. Well, let's see if we can go a different route on that.
Yeah.
There's clearly, be nice, for instance, I'm not saying, and I'm pretty sure you couldn't make the deal, but let's say you could get Jaren Jackson from the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, that's a perfect fit for this team, because he shoots threes. He's a shot blocker, but he really isn't a post-up player or a particularly strong rebounder. Well, he's a perfect fit with Domas. He's well,
There
okay
you
now.
go.
So now, what is it Memphis you need or may need or think you need to get him? And I'm pretty sure they'd say, "Well, you don't have what we need."
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's the approach. Find out, there are players, less talented than him that might, I've probably been on the Bobby Portis bandwagon for 5 years now, and I think the Kings probably had a chance, maybe could have got him about 3 years ago, and they really didn't make a real good move. But I would still consider that, depending, because I think, Milwaukee might be looking to add depth and things like that. So, but main thing is identifying what you need, and this team, in my opinion, needs length and athleticism. And and it wouldn't have to be a power guy, a 4 or 5 like Portis, but a Derek Jones Jr. that was the Clippers, that was with Dallas. Those kind of guys, I mean, could really have an impact, I think, with this team.
Jerry, there was a report that came out yesterday on ESPN by Ramona Shelburne, a really good article inside the last few weeks of the Kings. And there was a source that was quoted in there saying that the organization feels this roster is fine. Do you believe this roster is fine?
No, I don't. I mean, I wish it was, and I would be interested if the person, whoever that person is, really believes that. I mean, I understand sometimes publicly you got to, say things that maybe you think to cover your own butt a little bit.
Sure.
But no, it's not. I think I think there's a talent there. There's no doubt. They've got some talented guys that have underperformed for various reasons. Maybe the fit of DeRozan, maybe just not, coming to the season, taking it serious enough. Maybe Coach Brown offended somebody, as a combination of who knows. But I mean, this team has more talent than their record, in my opinion. Now, but if you really believe you're good enough to compete with a healthy Dallas, Oklahoma City, those teams, and then I've got a problem.
Absolutely.
I'd like to be wrong. I would hope there, or whoever it is completely right, that this team as it is will get going, and they're plenty good enough, because I'm a Kings fan. But just from my background and what I see, I don't believe they are. They're at least one quality player short.
Yeah, don't disagree with you there. Jerry Reynolds joining us here on the Kings Court, getting ready to bring New Year's in here in later this evening. But when we look at Monty McNair's tenure as GM here in Sacramento, and we look at where the Kings are at now, especially with a thin bench, a bench that I'm on record as saying is closer to a G League bench than it is an NBA, high-level G League bench than an NBA bench. Is there one point during Monty's tenure that you point to and say, oh, that might have been where the Kings kind of came out of the lane a little bit with this build that they've done as the quote-unquote beam team?
Well, I'd say the only thing would be, I thought for a couple of years now, the team has needed length and athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, DeRozan's a terrific player, and I thought it worked better than it has thus far. I still believe that it could, but the in my mind, the major need wasn't addressed. Now, so that'd be I'm sure he tried on a lot of guys, and we don't know all the background. You can't know what's tried, because I know I've been there, and a lot of times you just can't make the deal you want to make.
Sure.
But I still say that would be it, because it's kind of been a couple of year thing where this team clearly doesn't have the length and and the depth with size that they need.
So you've been in that seat, as you just said, as GM. If the Kings are looking to make deals right now or engaging with other teams, are the Kings probably going to be looking at a little bit of a haircut because where they're positioned, because other teams in the league know that they need to make moves?
Yeah, that's the danger. I mean, when you're struggling, Vulture starts, start circling, and the rumors with Fox, and
Yeah.
teams come out that may be considering a major move for a talent like him, and it's hey, we got this guy in 2 seconds, and boy, it'd be good for you, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I always remember Jerry Krause when he's with the Chicago Bulls once called me and wanted me to. We had I think the 7th pick, which we took Lionel Simmons with, who was awfully good player until he got crippled with injuries. But anyway, he wanted to trade. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was his 12th man and really hadn't played hardly all year. And he told me, he said, yeah, Jerry, you know this guy, man, he's got 2 rings. And I said, yeah, so does your trainer. That was he can't play small forward either. so that's kind of stuff you get sometimes. You just have to know the value of your player. And I'm not saying you can always hit home runs, but generally speaking, the best trades are those that everybody gets what they want. And I think, when he made the Halliburton for Domas trade, it was a really great, excellent trade for both teams. And that's kind of what you hope for. I know fans were, you're always hoping for the win-win, but if you don't, generally speaking, if you want something good, you're going to have to give up something good. It's kind of like life. If you want to go out and buy a cheap shirt, don't be surprised if it's a cheap shirt.
Bingo. Or if you leave your pants at home and you got to buy a pair of slacks on the road,
you
might
pay
be
the
an
price.
expensive pair.
You pay the price. Yes, you do.
That's still one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, well, it ain't mine, but that's okay.
Sorry, I'm bringing up bad times. So, the fan base right now, I'll get you out on this one. And thank you so much again for joining us here on New Year's Eve. The fan base is kind of caught in the middle right now thinking, is this team going to rebuild? Do they just need to recalibrate a little bit? Is there a trade out there that can put this thing back on track? My opinion is it starts with De'Aaron Fox. I don't think this team should be making any moves until that decision has been made. Jerry, do you think that decision needs to be made by the organization first before any others?
Well, he's the piece. I mean, he's the guy that has the most value. If you were to redo your team, that's probably where you'd almost have to start, because he can bring you the most to change whatever direction it is. Now, I agree. To me, it's like those conversations probably shouldn't even be serious at this point. I mean, I'd say, okay, let's see where we are at the All-Star break, and see if they've turned it around on the right track. We think we can get to where we want to go with a minimal shakeup. Just like what we talked about earlier, that one piece. Now, but if it continues, say, like it had been, where you're playing well above or below 500, then the decision, that has to be with the ownership, the general manager, coach, all need to be on board. Okay, let's see, what the value is there. Then my opinion, true, is you still don't probably make a deal All-Star break. It just kind of starts sniffing it out, because I just think in general, you can make better deals around draft time, because with picks and people fall in love with the draft, and so a pick gets more value, things of that nature.
Very interesting. So that's more centered around, does that help more when it's a good draft like this one is projected to be with guys like Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, and I think any draft, people talk themselves into somebody. Every year there's 5 guys the next generational player, or that sort of thing, or everybody. Because you look, this wasn't a very good draft this past year, but there were still guys that people would have been willing to move up and this sort of thing. So yeah, it was a very weak draft, and I'm not sure how good this is going to be personally. Just what little I've seen, we'll see.
Okay.
There's well, I mean, there's probably always 2 or 3 guys.
Sure.
Yeah,
Always.
always.
Except this year. Except this year.
Yeah, well, there may still be. You know, I mean, Connect is an interesting player. You know that he might end up being pretty good. Zach Edey, I think, is
Yeah,
a real surprise. I mean, not all-star level guys, but so to answer your question, yeah, there'll be some guys. You know, yeah, with Cooper, I mean, it looks like he's a can't miss. Now, whether he's the next LeBron or Jordan, I think that's a stretch a lot. But
yeah.
can he be? Does he have all-star potential? Yes, he does.
Yep, absolutely. And Devin Carter, the Kings are soon going to get to see what he brings to the table. Had a really good game in Stockton, well, in Sacramento, playing for Stockton. Maybe a good push for this team. Give them a spark.
I think so. I'm really looking forward to that. And I know with Kings fans like I am, it's like, well, when things are having went well, you're always looking for things to look forward to or get excited about. And I think with Carter, I mean, I think there's reason, and I just know enough people around the league that are very high on him and felt he slipped because of the injury. So if he can just come in and give him a little bump and not just help the team, but help us as fans, like saying, oh, okay, we got the right guy. And then, and if he is, then that opens up a lot of possibilities, because now all of a sudden you've got a young guard that's got a lot of talent. And now that opens up how you may view the future as well.
Yeah, and it maybe kind of makes your point more important about starting to feel things out at the All-Star break, having a healthy sample size enough to see whether Devin is that player possibly or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to probably be tough, but I do think that usually really good ones, they'll find a way to it's not saying he's going to start jumping off the page, but he'll find a way to be productive to some level. Now if he's a real good one.
Absolutely.
And so that, I mean, and that can't be decided in one game or even 2. So you're hoping, or I'm hoping, that we get to see him play 10, 12 games at least with some legitimate minutes to have some idea, and then be able to gauge if he's getting better as he goes, because kid, I feel for him. No summer league, no preseason. So he's got to hit the ground running in the West, and that's not easy.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm keeping you longer because we're getting on to good subjects. Last question, then we're going to get you out. In some ways, with his pedigree, because his father, NBA veteran, he traveled with the team most of this time that he's been rehabbing. Is there a little bit of a benefit to that he's gotten used to the NBA lifestyle in his own shoes and now is coming into more of a lower pressure situation with where the Kings are at?
Oh, I think it was a tremendous advantage. I really do. I mean, Steph Curry and Seth Curry. I mean, there would be other great examples of that. Being around a dad that's playing, you're seeing the lifestyle, the trainers. You're getting out there to shoot on the big courts. So nothing is too much for you. I think, I always see Darius Garland with Cleveland. People forget. I can't remember. Winston Garland was his dad, who played briefly in the league. Was a pretty good little guard. Played 4 or 5 years. I think he played for the Warriors. In fact, some. So yeah, it's amazing how many we're seeing. Sons of Scottie Pippen Jr.
Yeah,
I mean, that guy's becoming a real player.
He sure is.
Yeah, he's his own guy. The junior stuff you don't need, but he's a guy that probably a lot of teams, if they need point guard or certainly a third guard, they ought to be after him.
One of the reasons Memphis was able to hang in there through the jaw injuries.
Yeah, and with Ja, I mean, anymore it seems like he's hurt again, and he's a terrific player. But Pippen's not Ja Morant, but he's good, and probably in some ways can run the team maybe even a little better because he's looking to do that as opposed to score.
Amen. Jerry, thank you so much for making the time, and I hope you and the fam have a wonderful New Year's. Any New Year's resolutions?
Basically, to try to have 365 day-to-days. Everybody's
like
day to
it.
day. Everybody's day to day, and so I want to have 365 of them.
I love it. I love it. Well, the first one starts tomorrow. Enjoy the night.
And watch a lot of football.
Oh, boy.
Really, really excited. And, of course, keep up with the Kings that haven't stayed with as much NBA stuff because of all the football, but the Kings. And so, hey, no Embiid, so go get win number 2 in a row.
Amen. Boise State, Penn State, who you got?
Yeah, I hate it to say it. I want Boise State, but I think Penn State's probably the better team. And just, but I've always been kind of a fan of Boise. How they've had to, they've really had to fight against the big boys to get any credit. And it's been terrific for years, going back to Coach Peters. So, yep, the Broncos, baby, bring them on.
Amen. Love it. Jerry, thank you so much. Have a great New Year's. We'll talk to you. I hate when people say it, but I'm going to do it. We'll talk to you next year, buddy.
Yes, you will. All right, buddy.
All right. See you soon, Jerry. Thank you. The one and only Jerry Reynolds joining us. What a great conversation. Fun conversation. What a treat. We are so lucky to have Jerry make time for us. Here on this channel. If you don't know and you're new to the channel, he is with us on Wednesdays for our Kings Roundtable. Grant, Jerry, and myself, and half times for every Kings game. Jerry is right here with us, breaking down the first half and giving his predictions for the second half. A lot of good stuff there. A ton of good stuff there. What did you like? Oh, pressure flippers. Please never mention Steph Curry on this flop show. He deserves to only be mentioned on big time shows. What's that say about you, pressure flippers, that you're commenting on this flop show? Stop, dude. Really? Really? Pressure flippers? What are pressure flippers? The hell does that even mean? Pressure flippers. And I'll tell you what, you want one good way to get ran the hell out of this community? Take a shot at Jerry Reynolds and see what happens. Take a shot at Jerry Reynolds. See what the chat does to you. And I'm not going to pull him off of you either. Show some respect to the living legend. Shut your mouth. Steph Curry, don't mention him. Get the hell out of here with this garbage. I mean that. Come on, man. I hope you were kidding. Don't you ever do that. Be better. Come on, man. Happy New Year, Tony. Happy New Year. Happy New Year's. So, what do you think? What do you think about Jerry's comments? I think a lot of it's true. That caught me off guard, though. That caught me off guard that he said he would wait. He would wait until the All-Star break to evaluate whether or not to trade Fox. Start having those Oh, I didn't mean to put you up. Nope, you're done, dude. Matthew Swider-Rosen's here, Mr. Midrange. Yeah, if the front office knew this team had holes, why does Monty continue to draft guards? It's a great question, Stan. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. And look, maybe Monty sees the league a certain way, and there's an anticipation that they may be able to turn players over, or there's a player on the roster that if one of those guards that's drafted can replace that player, that other player has trade value. There's that theory behind it. There's also this theory. Maybe Monty McNair isn't a big De'Aaron Fox guy. If we're going to throw the theories around, You got to at least put that one out there. 3 of his 4 draft picks have been guards. And Devin Carter, we haven't seen him play yet in the NBA, but Jerry talked about his pedigree. That's important. He's traveled this entire season for the most part, unless he has been down for assignment or had medical things going on. He has traveled with this team. So he's been around this team. He's been in film sessions. He's been taking the mental reps that many times are just as important as the regular reps. So he might be ready to hit the ground running. This game might not be too fast for him because he's been around it for long enough. He played in the Big East. He's a guy that stayed in school for 3 years. He's faced adversity. He's already had his right shoulder done before with the same surgery that he just had after the draft. So Devin Carter, who knows? He could turn out to be a Halliburton type player. Could turn out to be a Fox type player. But if that's the case, that Monty McNair might not be sold on De'Aaron Fox, then the hesitation to make a move for De'Aaron Fox should not be there. Or maybe there is no hesitation. Maybe that's the owner. It's all these unknowns, but it was very tough for me to comprehend why. To comprehend why somebody would give a quote, and Jerry gave a good reason, maybe to run it off the other way, save their own tail. Why you would say this roster is fine. And the fact that there were these meetings around this roster and around Coach Brown, that he's not utilizing this roster right. I don't think there's any knowledgeable fan in Sacramento that believes this roster was set up for success front to back. I just don't see it. And so for me, I'm not so concerned, and I'm not going to make a massive deal about Mike Brown losing his job, because we talked about much of this yesterday and the days before. You lost 5 games on your home court. The things that I take from that article are the bigger things. That you may have lost players or lost the respect of some players because you were too harsh on Fox. That was nothing. I mean, that was literally nothing. He even protected Fox to a degree in that Pistons post-game press conference. He could have MF'd him. He could have called him out by name every time he talked about the closeout, but instead he said the closeout. I got to go back and watch the film. He was clear that there shouldn't have been a closeout in that position. But coming from that article, if this team can't take that from a coach, that worries me a little bit. Coming from that article, if there's a belief in this organization that this roster's fine, that worries me a little bit. That's out of touch. Now, part of that might be the front office trying to save their tails. I think there's a part of that. Who can get to Vivek's ear first? And certainly it looks like Monty did, but there's no logical fan here in Sacramento that thinks Mike Brown had the right ingredients. Mike Brown had a damn good cut. He had a couple of filet mignons. And then he had Dollar Tree sides. And when I say Dollar Tree sides, I'm talking about the extended bench. He just didn't have talent there. He had young guys that were two-way guys, are two-way guys. 2 guys that weren't in the NBA to start the season. So I don't like that disconnect. That's the disconnect that's got me a little bit worried. Matthew, MB and Fox seem to be good from when he got hired. Remember that Fox said he used to hand pick hard-handed coaches. Yeah, he did say that, but here's the bottom line. Calipari is not a hard-handed coach. Calipari ain't a hard-handed coach. I can promise you that. Calipari is no Bobby Knight. He's no Mike Krzyzewski. He's not one of those guys. Cal is more of a player's coach. He is. So, and even that quote, by the way, the quote that you notice in the article where it says De'Aaron Fox even backed up the coach's extension. In the quote given from De'Aaron was, "I don't want another coach." I mean, a little bit of ambiguity there. Not exactly a screaming endorsement of Mike Brown. Quite the contrary. I don't want another coach. You could say, well, doesn't mean I want Mike Brown, but I'd rather not have another coach. That's more important to me. So I'll take Mike Brown. You see how there's ambiguity in all this? Like, that's why these articles, I wish sources would put a name to the article. It is what it is. But a lot of stuff. Look, Baby Cakes, I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. But the reality is, and we talk about this all the time on this channel. In fact, anytime there is a bad moment by somebody with a credential, I'll put it into the audio and I'll play it for you. And I'll always say, this is how you lose your credential. To have your credential, and I respect most of the people here in Sacramento with credentials. In fact, I would encourage you to go check out most of their work. Some of them I would not. Some I do not approve of their work. Some I, quite frankly, do not have a stomach for. But the majority of them, I would tell you, go check out what they do. But there is such a delicate balance in what you ask, and more importantly, how you ask it, that goes into keeping your credential, that those questions never really get asked directly. There's a reason for that. Damon Bruce used to talk about it all the time. Damon was credentialed by the Warriors for a really, really long time. So if I had a credential, I'd ask it. I would. I don't need a credential, though. You don't need a credential to be able to cover a team properly. You don't. Create your own access. That's what we do around here. Let's see. Appreciate it, BG. Appreciate it. Bobby Jackson. Back would be so great. The community would welcome him back with a heartbeat and a kiss, probably, on the top of the head. Look, I don't know what the Kings will do with the coaching search. I'm not sure that Doug turns it around. If you want to look at a positive when it comes to Doug having this job right now, it's probably that means he's probably going to have to, or not going to have the opportunity to do enough to retain the job. I think you need a bigger hire than that. I think the fan base would actually reject the hiring of Doug as the full-time coach. So at least to me, that means we do have a full-time coach coming. Rhino can't like Jim Rome. What do you mean I can't like Jim Rome? Yeah, no, I can't block him, Stan, but I will definitely watch out for that. Jim Rome in the background picture has to be so disappointed in the pathetic Sac Kings franchise. Look, pressure flippers, I am lucky, and I know I just went off on you. I'm going to give you a second chance. I am lucky Rome is not on the air until next week, because if Rome was on the air when all this stuff happened, it would not have been pretty for Sacramento, and it definitely would not have been pretty for me. I can promise you that. He would have gone in on me. When stuff happens with the Kings, more times than not, Jim goes in on me.
And then Ryan just busted you up.
Yeah, I did bust you up, pressure flippers. My bad. But no. And then you've got Haunted Horse, who comes on this show all the time, making announcements like this on the Jim Rome Show.
Haunted 00 Horse. Jim, I also fathered an illegitimate child.
Look at that. Multiple marriages. And all of a sudden, we find out that he had a kid.
Ho, 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 Ryan, that's pretty good for you. That's pretty good for you.
So, yeah, Jim would have busted me up if the Kings, if he was on the air when all this happened. They put him in a tough situation. How do you know Doug wasn't a part of that situation? Just asking the question. Genty, over 100, unless Penn State's D-line is that good. Should eclipse 100 yards. I hope so. Light the beam. You dude. You're walking a fine line, Pressure. You are walking a fine line, my man. Trying to get through your comments when Jerry was on, and then we're going to wrap up, because you do have Boise State and Penn State coming up here in just a few minutes. AP, rather rebuild. Now in trade all our pieces while they are high value. Okay. So, well, Lyles, here's the thing. Lyles, his contract's up at the end of the year. I don't think the Kings will probably bring him back. I would be surprised if they do. I feel like that's kind of ran its course here in Sacramento. But those are the kind of pieces that I'm talking about. And that's why I asked Jerry the question. Do you wait to make any type of significant roster adjustments until the Fox shoe drops? Because the worst thing that could happen, in my opinion, is you start trading people like that to appease De'Aaron Fox, and De'Aaron Fox walks away. Monty McNair cannot do what he did with Malik Monk and have trust that Malik's going to come and re-sign with Sacramento. Can't do that. Bogey didn't re-sign, and that hurt this team greatly when the Kings got nothing for him. So a lot of stuff going on. So happy to have Jerry Reynolds here, and thank you all for being here as well. New Year's, no resolutions for me. I like Jerry's. Stay day to day. I think they do, Riley. I do. I think Notre Dame has a chance. I do indeed. I did not go to Boise State, for those that are asking. My brother went to Boise State. So Boise runs in the family, so I support them. In fact, both of us were Mountain West guys, because I went to San Diego State. So he supports SDSU basketball. I support Boise State football. And it's a fair trade. So I've spent my fair amount of time in Boise, Idaho doing that. I asked, by the way, for all of your, if you had any good New Year's stories, put them in the chat. I don't think I got any New Year's stories. I'll give you one really quick. So I have been in New York for the ball drop. I have done that. That was a lot of fun. Now, the really weird thing. So what we used to do, by the way, is we used to do a trip every New Year's with the guys that I went to college with. We would get together. Yep. Happy New Year's, y'all. Trade Colby expiring contract. What are you going to get back? What are you going to get back for Colby? What are you going to get back? Not much. I'm leaving. You know, I almost asked Jerry. I'm learning more about Mountain West every day. There you go. Well, the good Mountain West teams are on their way to the Pac-12 now. But anyone here name a Kings player that didn't stay by choice? Have to think about that. Anyways, getting back to a quick New Year's thing. So we would do a boys trip every year for New Year's, which was really cool, really awesome. We did NYC, the ball dropping. One of my really good friends, his brother worked for MTV, so we kind of got the cool treatment. We weren't in Times Square, but we could see the ball. But then we got to go to, I believe it was Mariah Carey and somebody else's after party. So we didn't see any celebrities, but we were in the party. That was cool. But the story I want to share with you, and I think this is an important one. We went to Vegas. They're doing actually pretty good, Mark. They're doing really good. They were ranked in the top 25, the back end of it. They just had a close game the other day against, it was on Fox. Who was it? Was it Nevada? Might have been Nevada. I got to go back and check. But they're doing well. They're athletic. The defense at STSU is always an issue. No, we did not wear a diaper. You know why we didn't wear a diaper? Because we didn't wait in Times Square for the ball to drop. So there's this misconception. So there's Times Square, right? And if you're doing Times Square for the ball dropping, you've got to, and Adam's right, if you're able to get one of those spots, you have to stay in that spot. If you get out of that spot to go use the bathroom, anything like that, you lose your spot. But there's also the businesses on Times Square that sell spots. So Times Square Brewery, for instance, back in the day, you could spend $200 and it would go towards your bar tab and it would guarantee you a spot right there in the bar or on the patio where you could see the ball drop. All right. So anyways, the Times Square, the streets just keep going back from there. So we got into a spot that was probably 20 blocks back from Times Square, but dead on so we could see it. Good enough. But here's the weirdest thing about that. When the ball drops, everybody celebrates for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, confetti everywhere. And then everybody scatters like rats. They're gone. There's like 1 million people. And then it's like the biggest like magic act ever. These people just disappear. They're gone like that within an hour and a half, 2 hours after the ball dropped. The streets were empty. It was crazy. Anyways, we went to Vegas. I went to Vegas for New Year's. This was our New Year's trip. I think it was 2007 and it was going to be 2008. It's going to be 2008. And we made a pact that year for New Year's that if anybody won money or won a lot of money in Vegas, they would have to spend half of it on the group. And we weren't gambling large amounts. I think our biggest bets were like $100 a hand, right? Well, we were coming out of an establishment one night and we had a good time. We had a few adult beverages. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. And quite frankly, I don't remember everything that night. And I certainly didn't remember this part of it. I decided that because nobody was playing on the roulette table, that I was going to put $100 on my 2 favorite numbers, 10 and 11. In fact, I put it on 4 numbers. I believe it was 7, 8, 10, 11. Nobody had played the table. Like there weren't numbers on the screen or anything. And the guy looks at me. He's like, "You sure you want to do that?" And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Let's do it. And the whole crowd, like everybody we were with is around me. And he spins it and it hits. And it paid 7 or 8 to 1. So I won $800 or $700. Everybody's like, "No way." So what's Rhino do? Rhino then does it again. He puts another $100 on the same exact spot. The pit boss comes over at this point because I think $100 was the table maximum. I probably would have bet more if I could have. What happens? It hits again. So now Rhino has made almost $2,000. I wake up the next morning, hazy, headache, not feeling great. All my buddies are just shaking their heads at me. They're like, come on, man. Like, are you serious? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, check your wallet. And I look in my wallet and there's a pile of hundreds like that. And I'm like, that really happened? And they're like, yeah. And so they're like, what are we going to do? You won a lot of money. And I'm like, what do you guys want to do? We ended up getting table service. Hey, baby cakes. I did give the dealer $100. I 100% remember that. So anyways, we got table service at Tao nightclub, and Mariah Carey was doing the New Year's countdown. She was so hammered that she couldn't count from 10 to 1 backwards. That's how hammered she was. Now, mind you, when we were there, we had already been removed from college for a year. So I was doing my stuff. I was working at the state capitol, pursuing a career in law. A couple of my buddies were in med school. One of them was doing something else. And then we had that one buddy. One was working for WWE, who still works for WWE. But then we had that one buddy that was still living at home and was still, just not sure what he was going to do after graduating. Police test countdown. Yeah, nice run, right? And so he wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he still made the trip anyways. We were happy he came on the trip. It was a little bit of a stretch. His parents weren't thrilled that he was going to Vegas because he, hadn't really found full-time employment, still kind of living off of the college run. And he was having a great time that night. Table service, he's got the bottle. And one of the tables next to us ordered a bottle of Cristal. And remember back in like the mid 2000s, Cristal was like the coolest thing in the world. Like if you were drinking Cristal, you felt like you were on a music video and you were a rich rapper or something. And all of the waitresses are coming out with sparklers and like doing this big celebration to open the bottle. And he gets it in his head that he wants to order a bottle of Cristal. And we're like, dude, you don't want to do that. And you also don't have the money to do that. And he's like, no. Like, dude, it can't be that expensive. It's $250 at Bevmo. And at this point, he's dancing with a girl. He's got her over at the table. And we're like, dude, don't do it. You have a better chance. You will have a better outcome if you go walk around this club and walk around these tables and look for somebody with a bottle of Cristal and ask them if you can buy a glass of that Cristal off of them. You will have a better outcome if you do that. And that is still going to set you back. And he's like, no, dude, like I got to do it. Like you only live once. And that's before the Drake song YOLO. And so we're like, don't do it. We even told our waitress. The Allen of the group. We even told our waitress. We're like, if this dude orders a bottle of Cristal, don't do it. Don't let him order it. He is not allowed to order it. And so we go off. We go dancing. We're going around the club, whatever. And all of a sudden, we see all of the waitresses in the club with sparklers in 2 single file lines, and they're heading towards the direction of our table. And we're like, it can't be him. There's no way he ordered it. There's no way. Must be a table next to us. Maybe you can get a glass from that table, right? Everybody's in a giving mood. Oh my God, Ryan, my son just got a job with the state senator today, and he's pursuing a career in law. Karma. Love it, Patrick. Congratulations. That's awesome. That is awesome. So tell him congratulations. That is a great way to start the new year. So anyways, we start beelining for our table. We are beelining for it. We're trying to get through. And we get to our table, and when we get there, the bottle of Cristal is just set on the table. And we look around and we're like, he fucking did it. Excuse my language. He did it. How did he do it? We asked the waitress, how did he get that ordered? He gave the bouncer $100 tip and had the bouncer order it from a different waitress for our table. And he told the bouncer he would give our waitress an equal tip that the other waitress would be getting, thinking that, oh, I'll slip her a 20 for lighting all those sparklers and bringing me my bottle of Cristal. So they do the entire celebration. He has his moment, like his rapper moment. Everybody gets about this much Cristal in their glass, about that much, just a tiny, tiny bit. The bill comes. The bottle of Cristal was $3,200. $3,200. Let me repeat that. $3,200. Now, that was not the cost of the total bill. The bill included gratuity, which was a mandatory 20% for opening the bottle. So the bill was closer to $4,000 between the two tips, because he promised the other waitress, that he would give her an equal tip. I have never seen somebody turn so white in my life looking at a bill. He looks at us and he's like, dude, that's impossible. They're playing a joke on me. It's only $250 at Venmo. We're like, hey, dumbass, you're not at Venmo. You're at Tao, one of the nicest clubs in Vegas, in bottle service that I was paying for before you decided to order that bottle. And we're like, dude, what are you going to do? How are you going to pay that bill, my man? Like, you better go talk to the manager. You better go see if there's something you can work out. You better go see if you can get a line of credit. How are you going to pay for that? We know you don't have the money to pay for that. And we're like, we don't have the money to pay for it either. So you need to figure this out. So as he walked away, we all got into a circle really quick, the guys, and a couple of the people that were at our table that we had met that night, and we decided we were going to bail him out. We were all going to pitch in a couple of $100. But we weren't going to let him off that easy. We weren't going to let him know that. So he comes back after talking to the manager of the club, after talking to the bouncer, after telling our waitress that he couldn't match the tip, after trying to talk down the bill. Can you at least take the gratuity off? And he's like, I'm screwed. I don't know what I'm going to do. And we're like, brother, you better go walk out of this club to a quiet place and call your parents. We know you have their credit card. You better go call your parents right now and tell them that you're going to have to charge $4,000 to their credit card because you ordered a bottle of champagne on New Year's Eve in Vegas. They're going to kick me out. Like, what am I going to do? They're going to kick me out. Dude, you're going to get your ass beat if you don't pay for this champagne. So, with his tail between his legs, he walks out of the club. He makes that call at 3:30 in the morning to mom and dad. Hey, mom and dad, you know this trip that you didn't want me to go on? This trip that you said I couldn't afford? I just bought a $4,200, whatever it was, $4,000 bottle of champagne, and I need to put it on your credit card. He walks back to the table, and his head's just shaking, and he's like, "I'm dead." He's like, I'm dead." He goes, "I didn't even get the mad speech. I got the we're not mad, we're disappointed, which means I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. They're talking about maybe making me sell my car." And we're like, "We told you not to order that bottle of champagne." He's like, "I just want to leave. Where's the bill?" And we told him, like, we took care of it. We paid the bill for you. You're buying breakfast, by the way, for all of us tomorrow morning, but we took care of the bill. Listen to us next time. Don't be a dumbass. You just learned a very, very valuable lesson. While $4,000 seems like a lot of money right now, you will think twice about doing something stupid like that in the moment. So he had to pay for it. He had to call his parents, but he didn't have to charge it. We covered it for him, but it was the funniest thing in the world. But we were good friends. We told him not to do it. We made him sweat it out, but we still had his back. So nobody be that guy. Nobody be that guy tonight. Make sure if you're drinking, get a designated driver. I'm just a Pine Cove guy. I've been to the Pine Cove before. What's up, Andrew? Ryan missed stream. Is the goal for New Year to make the playoffs? No. The goal for New Year is to hopefully recalibrate and not rebuild. That's what I think. So playoffs, I think they're done. It's more of can you get to a play-in game? All right, we've gone way long. So go enjoy the football game. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful New Year's. Strip Allen and put him in the trunk, right? From The Hangover. We had to make him learn a lesson. In fact, it was
Great success.
Yes, he never made that mistake again, as long as we knew. Matthew, playoffs? No. I think play-in is the goal of this year so far. Getting back to 500. Let's get there. We learned not to get a bottle of Cristal, $3,200. Yeah, very expensive. Paul, great story. Should have had a guy named Guido waiting for him. Yeah, that would have been funny. Hey, Guido. How you doing, man? You gonna swim with the fishes, eh? Yeah, no. All right. See you all next year. In fact, I will be here tomorrow. I'll do a King's Court for all of you since Grant will not be on and we won't be doing the King's Roundtable. Well, I might not do a King's Court, actually. I might because of the football games. We'll figure it out. Go Broncos. Hopefully they win tonight. If you missed the show like Andrew, go back. Jerry Reynolds was with us. That was a lot of fun. Nothing good happens after midnight. Yes, I agree. Nothing good. A great story, Ryan. Happy New Year. You too, John. Happy New Year, Wolf. Be safe. Boise? Nampa is beautiful. What? Boise, Nampa? There was a tiger in the bathroom in the morning and a baby. No, none of those. None of those, but a big pit in his stomach and a really uncomfortable flight home, waiting to have that conversation with his parents. He had to learn a lesson. He had to learn a lesson. At least we saved him the trouble of the actual financial cost. At least we were good that way. All right, y'all, be good. Have a great New Year's. We will see you maybe tomorrow. Stay tuned to my social. Again, huge thanks to Jerry Reynolds for joining us today on the King's Court. Be safe tonight, y'all. Please be safe. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. Thank you for making it an incredible 2024 here on this station. I just wish this Kings team could be bringing you a little bit more joy, but joy or discomfort, we'll be here for it. We'll talk through it. We'll get through it together. Go Kings, light the damn beam. Stay away from Levine. Have a safe and wonderful New Year's Eve. Go Broncos. Court is dismissed.